Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, we're going to look at what the head of Scotland's gas network says about Patrick Harvie and his mad idea about heat pumps. Before I do, though, would just like to thank Mr. G. Smiths, one of the viewers, who yesterday was very, very generous, and just want to appreciate what he did. And thank you. You know what you've done. It's very kind, and I am humbled by it. Anyway, getting back to Patrick. He comes up with this mad idea that everyone should have a heat pump. But the head of the Scottish Gas Network says it's not only a very stupid idea that will be looked back on in years to come as being, lunacy, effectively. He says it will also lead to absolutely massive bills, and people will be cold, and especially older people. And it will probably increase, this is not what he's saying, but it will probably increase incidence of hypothermia. People can't afford to put the heating on. So we'll take a look at what he's saying and why Patrick Harvie's idea is so utterly stupid, but also dangerous. Here goes. So Patrick Harvie's gas boiler ban would lead to astronomical heating bills and colder homes, Energy Boss warns. And of course, the colder homes, especially the old people, like I said, that could end up killing people with hypothermia. And it won't make a slightest jot of difference to the environment, not while the likes of China are opening 2 coal power stations every week. And so, what difference does it make? None at all. All it will do is impoverish people, damage their health. You'll destroy new homes, new build homes, the market for that. Because if new build homes have this thing where they've got to have, air source or heat pump heating, nobody's going to buy them. They just go, yeah, it's a great house, lovely area and all that, but hasn't got gas central heating. There's an older house over there that has, I'll buy that. It's madness, isn't it? Anyway, SGN, which is the Scottish Gas Network Chief Executive, Mark Wilde, also claimed that axing Scotland's world-leading gas network would be a mistake looked back on like the beaching railway cuts of the 60s. It would be a massive mistake. A top energy boss has warned that Patrick Harvie's plans to outlaw gas boilers would lead to astronomical heating bills and colder homes. And he also added that there was no issue with installing heat pumps in new builds, but replacing boilers in older properties would not be suitable due to the cost and the inability to properly heat the house. There's also another thing, of course, which people haven't recognised really, is that there's a lack of engineers and maintenance people. These heat pumps, they need a lot more servicing than do a gas boiler, and they just don't have people trained up to do it. There's just nobody there who's capable. There are people there that are capable, but just not in the numbers that they're going to be needed. The Scottish Greens are completely bonkers and are leading on plans to make the majority of Scottish housing stock net zero by 2045. It's impossible. Some of these houses are over 100 years old. It's just not doable. This includes the commitment for 1 million properties to switch to more climate-friendly heating systems, such as heat pumps. Now, you're looking at sort of between 10 and 30, depending on the size of the house, between 10 and £30,000 to install a heat pump. Now, that's across the whole of the country. You're looking at 25, maybe more, billion, with a B, billion pounds to put heat pumps just in the homes. That's 25 billion pounds coming out of people's pockets because the government isn't going to pay for it. That's 25 billion that's not going into shops, restaurants, bars, cinemas. That's everywhere closing down. The entire economy collapsing. And of course, that's the real reason that the Greens are for it. When there are no shops, when there are no cinemas, when there is nothing, people will absolutely starve because they just have to spend all this money on these heat pumps. And then, of course, they're even more expensive to run than normal current technology. What does he want people to do? It's like committing national harry-carry, isn't it? You might as well just slit the throat of the nation as try to force this in. It's madness, lunacy. And that's why, of course, it takes the idiots of the Greens to propose it. Anyway, Mark Wilde, the chief executive of SGN, Scottish Gas Network, which operates the country's gas network, has claimed that heating costs will soar if Scots are forced to switch to heat pumps, and those living in draftier and older homes will be harder hit if they're forced to ditch their gas boiler. Plans being drawn up by Mr Harvie to force the installation of climate-friendly heating systems by making homes unsellable due to changes in the EPC rating. It means those with gas boilers will be unable to sell their homes. And that's fine. And then what you'll have is people living in unsuitable accommodation, and there's nothing they can do about it. And if they don't have the cash to install a heating pump at maybe £20,000-30,000, what are they going to do? It's lunacy. You could have 14 children in a tiny house because nobody's allowed to sell this house and move to a bigger house because little tiny tits like Patrick Harvie have decided that we all need to live medieval peasant lives. The guy is an absolute boil, isn't he, on your arse? Mr Wilde insisted that the infrastructure is not yet in place to help facilitate this big change, and it would hammer struggling families. He claims the cost of installing a heat pump is £12,000 to £15,000, which is almost the double the Scottish Government subsidy of £7,500, and the rest, because installing the heat pump is that. But that's assuming that your current gas system, your gas central heating system, is capable of taking the heat pump water. Chances are it isn't, and you'll need to upgrade your entire central heating system. More expense. And if the government are giving you a subsidy of, say, £7,500 and you've got to find £20,000, who's finding the £12,500 difference? It's just undoable. And of course, the other thing which they haven't addressed, which nobody seems to want to address, is first of all, we don't have the generating power to heat millions of homes by electricity. It's just not there. And secondly, the entire national grid would need to be upgraded. Billions of pounds. You're going to have to build 30 nuclear power stations just to heat Britain's homes, as well as the 6 nuclear power stations needed to be built just for their electric cars. So the next thing you know, you're looking at nigh on 40 nuclear power stations in order to do this. And these are not cheap each. You need 40 of them. And you need to upgrade the entire national grid. Who's paying for this? Who is going to pay for this? And how long do you think it's going to take? They think, oh, it's going to be 20 years. It's going to be 100 years. The existing grid system has been around for 100 years. It's taken that long to grow organically, piecemeal. You can't just change it overnight and expect it to be done quickly. It won't work. Without the use of gas, monthly energy bills will shoot up to unaffordable costs. Mr Wilde told the Daily Mail there is a significant issue in the supply chain about putting these installations in. Technically, that may take several years to build up the electricians that can actually do it. It says, more importantly, our ambition is to keep people feeling warm, and I just don't believe heat pumps in a drafty old house will do the job. Now, this is an expert in his field, of course, and you had the actual guy that sold these. He's the biggest seller of heat pumps in the country, saying most houses in Britain are unsuitable for them. But that doesn't stop idiots like Harvie, who doesn't know what he's talking about, from pushing them. Oh yes, you've got to have them. They're unsuitable. It doesn't matter that they're unsuitable. You've still got to have them. They're very expensive. We don't care how poor you're going to be. The running costs are terrible. We don't care about that. We haven't got the facilities and the energy supply to run them. I don't care about that. You've still got to have them. Why? Because I've got a tiny cock and I need to feel important. That's ultimately what this is down to. Now, go back to what Mark was saying. He said he did back heat pumps as a sensible idea in new build homes because they're usually better insulated than older properties. But he made a stark warning that axing Scotland's world-leading gas network prematurely would be regarded as a fatal proposal, as the beaching rail track cuts of the 1960s. He said heat pumps should be put into new build, well-insulated homes. But if we try to put heat pumps in a rushed way into the existing housing stock, then people are going to pay a lot of money and have a very disappointing experience. It's much like voting for the SNP and the Greens, isn't it? It's very expensive and very disappointing. Also, again, not mentioned here, but we have covered in the past, is if you've got all these houses, all of them with heat pumps running full time in the winter, there's going to be a lot of noise pollution. They may be quiet, you can have quiet ones individually, but when you've got thousands of them constantly running, there'll be a constant background hum, cumulative hum. And they've measured this, and it actually exceeds legal limits. So it's not as clear cut and simple as people are trying to make out. Anyway, he says, we believe in a dual system of heat pumps and ordinary transmission of our network. Scotland is one of the most advanced gas networks in the world. We've got 250,000 kilometres of pipes below our feet. Would we seriously decommission that? That would be a really bad idea. He said nobody would now think of getting rid of our railways in the 60s was a good idea either. And I think the same with the gas network. If you project 30 years hence, people will look back with incredulity if we get rid of one of our most important national assets. Again, and the gas network has taken 100 years to grow organically, and they just want to kill it overnight. And this is what happens when you let morons have any say over policy. Because people in the Green, believe you me, are morons. He says, I don't know how you price the economics of security and being resilient, but on a cold day with no wind blowing, 60 to 70% of our electricity comes from gas. He says the Scottish government said, switching to low carbon heating is essential, blah, blah, blah. A load of bullshit. It's not. It's a lie. They're lying. They're just lying. They're just absolutely lying. Well, we're currently reliant on 70% of our electricity to come from gas. How much more is that going to be when there's no gas going into people's homes and it all has to be generated? Way more gas will be used generating electricity than is currently used to heat homes because, these people are morons, especially in big, old, drafty homes built 100 years ago, not designed for this kind of heating. And modern homes, if you put it into new builds, people, like I say, would just not buy the new build. They just go and get an older home that's got a gas central heating because it's just better. Anyway, I shall stop there and come up. What we have here is another example of the Greens' ignorance and conceit. Lorna Slater didn't talk to any experts in the recycling industry before she did the DRS because she knew that the experts wouldn't tell her what she wanted to hear. And Harvie, likewise, will not listen to the experts when it comes to heating homes. He didn't listen to the expert on heat pumps and he won't listen to the expert on gas for the same reason. He knows that what they will tell him goes against what he's trying to do. That kind of tells you that what he's trying to do is quite clearly wrong. But he'll never admit it because his ego won't let him. He will never listen to experts because having made a statement, he knows that they would tell him he's wrong. And like so many of them, he can never ever be wrong. Well, good luck. Good luck with that. And if you put them into new homes, you'll just end the new home market. And if you force them on everyone else, you'll just destroy the economy. And also, the entire national grid will break down. It isn't resilient enough. But there you go. That's what happens, isn't it? We should stop electing morons. Give them an IQ test and tell them that if they are incapable of changing their minds when new facts are presented, then they're incapable of becoming politicians. Anyway, I should stop there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that's been informative. It certainly tells you exactly how stupid the Greens are when they refuse to listen to experts. I hope you enjoy it enough to press the like button. Anyway, until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay warm. Winter is coming. Bye.